Hey, what's up YouTube? It's Rich. All right, welcome to a video. So I needed to actually study this morning and I figured why not study with all of you? So essentially what it is I'm inking a job. It's kind of like fill-in work that might turn into like something that I stay on. I'm not 100% sure. But the inking style that they're partially going for has an Arthur Adams flavor. Probably not this psycho detail stuff in the background. Art is crazy, but some of the more like figure rendering. So yeah, I needed to kind of bone up on it. I inked a page, and it looked good. But I didn't really feel like I was hitting the exact like line work. We'll see as I go through this. I'll kind of try to give you my thought process and what I'm seeing. But look, Arthur Adams he's an incredible penciler. He's actually highly prolific for creating such detailed work. But this is what I'll say about that is it's his level of consistency within his productivity that makes him prolific. Is art is actually a pretty consistent producer. Some of these pieces may take him weeks or even a month or more to produce, but he's always producing stuff, and that really ends up being the key. And then, at the end of the year, he's produced a body of work, that's a tangible thing. It's stuff that he can show online. It's stuff that he can compile into these sketchbooks and stuff like that. And then if he goes back a little bit and pulls some older pieces and sort of mixes those in, you always feel like you're getting something kind of fresh from him. And there's really something to take away from that if you're an artist and you want to have a long career like he has. It's like not slow and steady wins the race, but you know what I mean. Like he's always producing. That's key. So if you look at like the lines on her butt, I'll grab a pointer. This will be fun. They're not super fancy lines. You know what I mean? They're actually quite sort of consistent weight, and things like feathering and stuff like that off of body parts like that over a full piece can actually kind of change the sort of personality of the piece. So what my line is actually probably too stylish for what I'm trying to do. So I actually need to get kind of more of this like Robert Crumb kind of line. They're a little tapered there, but it's not anything super extreme or super like fancy. And then one other thing I wanted to throw in really quick at the front end of this video is I've been doing YouTube for like 4 years, and I have a sense of humor. I don't really take YouTube that seriously. I forget a lot of times to mention this. Although sometimes my content can be perceived as educational, think of it as entertainment, and it's just one opinion because like I'll make jokes and stuff like that, and I think that people that are just finding the channel and watch it may not get sort of like the more longer running themes here. So it's just one of those things that I remind myself sometimes when I'm not filming videos that someone might pop in and really have no clue what I'm talking about or think that I'm being an asshole. Based on stuff that I say. Most of the rules that I'll ever mention are more rules that I apply to myself. Obviously, I'm a big fan of a lot of different styles of art, so just so that that's clear, that like I'm a picky bastard, but I'm more picky with my own stuff than other people. I mean, that the fun of seeing other people's art is their own language. All right, so yeah, again, do you see how these are? They're very consistent, like there's not a lot of like it is a tapered line, but it's just not tapered a lot. These are hatches, but they're not hatches that actually fade. They only fade because they probably get slightly closer together. Um, Again, stuff like this. These are real simple lines. There's a little bit of a line weight to some of these. You see those little darker areas? That's actually a slightly tapered line. Also, I was curious about like the line weights around his stuff. From what I know, and I don't know this is a factual thing, but I believe that art uses Copics. I mean, not microns, sorry, to ink his stuff. I could be wrong on that, but if I remember correctly, that was what I was under the impression that he does. But stuff like this, he does break up the line a little bit here, but these are all little things that I need to, like for me, I might go like thick here and then thinner here, hit a thick line here, go thick here and thin, and I have a tendency to throw kind of angular shapes on things. So to try to get a little bit of this personality. Again, Robert Crumb is a big influence on art, in my opinion. Again, anything that I say is my opinion. And one other thing I'll add is I even watch the videos back and disagree with myself, sometimes that quickly. So anyway, but I'm under the impression that Art is a fan of Robert Crumb, and Robert Crumb has a pretty organic line quality to his stuff. So let's see. Even in the faces, I was kind of curious about that. So even because I'm not doing finishes on the stuff that I'm inking, but it's close. It definitely at times teeters to finishes. We'll see how much tighter the person draws. And again, like if you look at this, I'd probably put a little like line weight under this. So like this is like a button, but somewhere I would put like a tiny bit of a cast shadow. But the thing is again, that adds up. If I make that decision there, and then here I put a little thicker line, and then these are tapered, and then these have a little more personality, you compound that on a full piece and you've completely changed the subtleties of it. And that's what I'm about. It's one of the reasons I think people are sometimes interested in what I do is that I'm pretty versatile, and I've worked in a ton of different styles, and I don't like I'll be honest and just say that like the amount of studying that I have done to go into any job is super limited. Like I generally will spend maybe 30 or 45 minutes like I'm doing right now, and then that's the last time that I do it. So it's nothing that I generally will drift back to or keep like re-upping sort of like the information banks on it. I do one pass and then I'm good to go. But it's kind of how I look at art too, which again kind of created Open That Book and Super Fun Sunday ultimately was I just don't go back and look at stuff very often. You know, I'll have like an example is like I might get interested to see like Neil Adams or something like that, and I'll just blast through stuff in an evening, you know, maybe in 45 minutes to an hour, and then I'm kind of good for a while, and that's sort of how I consume art. So let's see what we got here again, and I want hopefully there's some sequentials in here too. The pinups are nice, but yeah, so he has a little bit of a like line variation here. If you look, this is a little thinner up here and gets a little thicker as it goes down. It's like a little thicker on the heel. These aren't huge deals, but it's just things that I need to be aware of. Like, there's no line weights kind of on this like patch. The way that he does this kind of rendering, you know what I mean? Like, I don't really need to use my Hunt 102 and create like thin to thicks, like sort of the Terry Austin thing. Although the person I'm inking did actually mention Terry Austin. I think. I don't know. I'll wait to announce who I'm inking. It's pretty cool, actually. And people will be excited and somewhat curious. I think the combination of us is going to be pretty cool. It's someone I've never inked before. I've known for a long time. This is great. This is just a cool drawing in general. Like, I don't even care about the inks. I'm just like, oh dang, that's cool. Right, so let's take a little closer look at this. I hate drawing frickin' scale mail or whatever, like that kind of stuff. It's such a pain in the butt. It looks like, I mean, so here he didn't really do like many line weights. I see like little bits. I tend to go like thin to thick and then hit it with like a little bit of a cast shadow. But again, you add that up over this whole thing and it really will change the sort of character of it. I am seeing kind of like slightly thicker like lines under there. It's nice because the phone actually zooms in more than what I'm seeing in person. So let's see if he does cast shadows under this stuff. See, he kind of does. You see right there, there's the little bit of a different, like it's not like a circle that connects to that. He is creating, but he doesn't do it there. He didn't do it there. I pull shadows on all stuff. Anything that overlaps, wherever the light source is, I'll actually drop a shadow. And I almost do it like just on autopilot. But, you know, again, that's a lot of little cast shadows in that area. And it's going to, you know, it's going to change things. I always say there's like 200,000 lines in a drawing, and every drawing can handle so much sort of deviation from its original point before it actually sort of can't take your decision making. Was interesting is I heard Scott Williams talking about David Finch at Comic Con, and he was saying that like Finch is one of those artists where his work is so solid and his blacks are so strong that he's very very forgiving to sort of more novice inkers, and I totally agree. I'm nearly sure I've said that in YouTube videos, but you can be a pretty average to below average inker and ink a David Finch piece, and David's pencils and the way he composes pieces are so strong that they actually can withstand a lot more incorrect decision making, and then also based on sort of the resolution of the scan. Like if you actually can zoom in on stuff, I think then the little problems pop up more for if an inker made like bad line choices, but stuff like this in here. I'm trying to. It's like the magazine or whatever is kind of curving, so I'm trying to. This is interesting to me because it's all pretty dead weight. There's a little bit of a thicker line like around these top edges, and then stuff like this. It's like that stuff is hard to do like this, where it's just sort of like there's like kind of like a tapered line there and this little sort of thing there. You don't. Like I have some people that will like criticize anything that I say or like try to pick it apart. You don't think about this when you do this, all right? I've inked thousands of pages. I know what I'm talking about, but you still need to be aware that this is okay to do, whether or not you think it when you do it. You have to be aware of it. Usually the bounce back comes from people that have literally done like almost no art, especially when you compare it to like a professional artist and how much art we produce. But opinions are free. So the cost of drawing, that's expensive. So, all right, let's see. Sometimes art will do little fancier things here. This is kind of interesting, the little shadows underneath Longshot's hair and this stuff. This will be great, though. It'll definitely help me stay on point with this. And this was another thing too, is because the pencils were pretty sketchy, stuff like this, like there was a lot of different ways that you can interpret it because it was just like all like line work. So when I see line work, I'm always trying to figure out a way to like actually like kind of keep it in and have could have had like feathering through here that sort of created grays. So although someone like Art will put pretty solid like tubular shaped blacks, Campbell does this too. They're I wouldn't call them generic patterns, but based on the pose, there's sort of a little bit of a pattern that they follow. But the thing is like someone like Jim Lee or Silvestri, maybe they would have this as a fade where there would be like rendering and stuff through here that then ultimately goes to black, but there could be more gray in here. So it's good to see the solidity of Art's work. He's great, man. He's so good. It's impressive because he doesn't seem to be wavering in his quality, and every year he's still producing like just incredible pieces. That's awesome. But it's kind of got a little bit of a Michael Golden feel. Michael Golden kind of spots blacks like this, where they're kind of fun, cartoony shapes, like this. But they're based on real lighting. It's just been there's less anomalies in the forms, meaning that this is cool. That's great. Yeah, but you see, they're just lines. He does get thicker as he goes back. If you look, this is a like certain thickness is a little thicker, it's a little thicker, and then this is the thickest of those. So it creates the form, because the form, what it is it's being lit here, and it's creating shade. And he also indicates it with the like line work. But it's a powerful but very very subtle lighting thing. And then obviously this side of the face is going into shadow a bit more, and you can also see that there's more shadow on this side of the figure. Very very subtle, but quite really really excellently executed. Yep, Art is a badass. This was drawn 17 years ago. Can you imagine? He's still crushing it. So I want to find some sequentials or something a little more. What's funny is the pencil was sending me like stuff like this, but this is quite a bit older. But the language is there. But you can see even the boots back then were a little more complicated. Like he hadn't sort of boiled it down to his sort of defined shapes. It's kind of like Mignola did that too, where if you look at the first like Hellboy series and then look at maybe like the fourth one in, he even distilled his work down a bit more. This is Arthur Adams. So this is from '83. Willis Portacio actually inked art on the Long Shot miniseries. If I'm not mistaken. This is great. Man, there's a lot of detail. Holy cow. But stuff like this is hard for me to do, honestly. I'm trying to zoom in. The book keeps wanting to shut on me. All right, here, let's see. This stuff, because I'm an inker and my line has always been kind of fancy. I think that's why I took to inking kind of more naturally. It's rare that I would put down lines like this. But art doesn't really that much anymore. But I mean, these just look like drawn lines. Like there's not a lot of like character to them, but it works. I mean, it creates a sense of value and a texture and detail there. But yeah, I mean, I would feel like I would want to do either thinner lines or there would be something a bit different. But again, the effect in the sky could actually be Razorblade. My guess is that this is a scan off of a photocopy because it doesn't look well. These are all grayscale files though too, so it's difficult to say. But this is cool. See, this was stuff too. Oh, I put my pointer down. These lines right here. Again, as an inker, the temptation would be maybe to have them taper and be more feathered. But do you see that they do taper at the ends a little bit, but they're pretty consistent weighted lines. They're a little thicker over here. And again, you've got like pretty organic like shapes going on here. And this is because it's a snake, I get he's creating scales, but I wouldn't ever recommend, besides on something like this, doing sort of like the X pattern. This is a little more forgiving because they're curving, but yeah, like putting X's on anything besides like scales can look a little weird because sometimes I'll see people render arms where they cross the lines that way, and it can look a little weird. You're basically trying to indicate form when you throw down rendering lines, so you don't want to send mixed signals. All right, I'm trying to find some sequentials. Let me pause this for 1 second, and then I'm going to find that page with sequentials. Hold on. Alright, this isn't a sequential, but it's closer. Let me try to get my lamp a little brighter. Alright, hopefully it doesn't fall. Okay, so let's look at this background. I actually am a huge fan of Robert Crumb's work too, so I've definitely bounced back and forth in my life checking out his work. I really like underground comics. I mean, I don't have a bunch, but every 2 or 3 years I'll have that bug where I'm just like a night or two where I just look at every underground comic book that I can find online, or I'll go to like auction sites and look at the original art, and it's really fun. It's really cool stuff. I love the independent spirit of it. I like that it's just people telling stories that they want to tell because they think they're funny, or it's like parody and sarcasm and a little politics or whatever. It's kind of cool, it can be edgy, but Crumb is great. Crumb just hit the brighten thing. Well, this will be good. This is definitely going to help, but it's putting my head in the right spot where it's like this stuff is interesting when he renders. But again, do you see how solid those shapes are on the lighting? Nice big blacks. There's no fuss and muss, and then just the line work. This is really cool. That's a nice, that looks really good. I was kind of curious about the eyes, how he inks eyes. Okay. Let's see her face. Yeah, see, I would hit the eyelashes a bit more. Not more lashes necessarily, but I would change the shape of it a bit more in the mouth. He's got, if you look though, do you see the line weights on her lips? The top plane is like heavier shadow. It's because she's being lit from underneath, but he keeps that real consistent. Like, and again, her hair, the level of detail and the thickness of the lines increases as he moves it back to create that illumination in the front. And he probably did it with the monkey too. Yeah, it gets darker. The lines on top are heavier. Well, hopefully this is fun to check out. I have no idea if I'm going to do a super fun Sunday tomorrow. I would say odds are I'm not. I'll probably do a Patreon video or something like that tomorrow. But I figured this was worth sharing for everyone, and had been a while since I've been kind of consistent on YouTube, so I figured I would come back with something decent. This is nice. That's really cool. Okay, I'm going to end this in just a second because I don't want to have to edit this video and paste together two pieces. So, all right, well, we went through like one sketchbook. I'll show you the cover of it really fast. Oh, let's look at these. These are great. This is quite detailed. To do this on sequentials, it actually is probably not the best idea. It's a little too much for trying to do, 20-page books and 5 issues. So, it's one of the reasons that art doesn't do a ton of like comic book stories. But it works for those things, like pinups and commissions and covers. Okay, so here, I'll show you the cover real quick. We'll wrap this up. So this is another Arthur Adams sampler. Great cover on this. And all right, I'll talk to you later. Smash the like, subscribe if you haven't, and definitely check out Patreon. There's a ton of really good videos up there. And again, tomorrow I'll come up with something for Patreon. All right, have a great day.